Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. Hey, it's a Tuesday, October 28th, and it's here in the morning, and I'm sitting in a hotel room here in Santa Cruz, California. I'm here a couple days early, visiting some friends, and also I'm just going to take a day off for myself. I'm going to go out and enjoy the ocean beach today, because I haven't been to the beach for a while because of living in Arizona. But visiting some friends and also getting ready for our workshop in San Jose on Saturday. Still plenty of seats available. And also I'd like to encourage, if those of you who maybe it's a little financially tight for you, I still have a lot of my scholarship seats available. I set aside a certain percentage of seats for in each workshop at what I call a scholarship rate. It's a reduced rate of $25. But what you need to do, you need to send me an email for a request. Go to the website, sedonaconnection.com. All the links are there on the registration page. All the information is there. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for last Wednesday's radio program on the Q&A that I had with the ambassador. I had sent a follow-up report on that the day after, saying that I personally felt that that was probably the best radio program, content-wise, that I've ever had in all the time that I've been doing it. And your emails are confirming that as well. The information that is there. It's just outstanding. It helps put a lot of things into clarity. It makes a lot of sense for what stuff that's going on. Now there's a couple things though I need to mention, so to make sure I get them right, I'm going to go ahead and look at my notes. First of all, the ambassador had mentioned about the potential of developing some spiritual groups in conjunction with what is called the Gideon Project that the Red Dragon is doing. And he said that I would be able to help you on that. Well, he spoke a little bit prematurely. Because we don't have the content of that put together. We don't have the structure put together. I don't have those details at that time. So what I can do is stay tuned, and when I get that information, I'll send it out in a newsletter. So that's why it's important that you be signed up on my newsletter. If all you do is listen to this YouTube, you're only getting a small part of the communication that I put out, because these videos are always supplementary to the weekly's newsletter and the radio program. Okay? Also, the ambassador had said that he would like to come back again. He will make that decision when that time is right. There's a lot of different things that are changing all the time, different issues going on, different people they're dealing with. He'll let me know when he's ready to come back and do another Q&A. Okay, then another thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a discussion group. Now, I already am participating in 4 different Yahoo discussion groups, and I'm going to take a look at whether I'm going to do it through Yahoo, Google, or somebody else. But this is what it does. A lot of you have emailed me, and I'm your only point of contact of information, whether through my newsletters and radio programs, and you don't get to communicate with each other. That's what the discussion group will do. What the discussion group will do, it will let you talk and communicate with each other, share points of views, ask questions, get help from each other. I will periodically post some other articles that I feel that are very relevant to some of the things that are coming up. As an example, there was a very good article that came out from David Wilcock yesterday, and another one from Ben Fulford today, kind of lining up so much of what the ambassador and the Dragon family are reporting of what's going on in world affairs. The cabal, they're losing their power, etc., and stuff like that. Now, what I asked, though, is that we'll have some basically kind of rules of procedure, is that you just don't start dumping a ton of stuff on there that it becomes like junk mail, if I can say that. Because lots of times there are things that are very, very important to you, but somebody else could care less about. Because it's touching you at a spot where you are in your life at that moment, and you feel like that's something I have to share. Well, just be respective, is that some things are really good, relevant for large groups, but they may only be relevant for a number of small ones. Because, folks, I get that. You put me on your email list, and I have to admit, because of the volume, it's just the volume that I get, it becomes somewhat like junk mail, because I just don't have the time. I still get 50, 100, sometimes 150 emails in a day, and obviously I can't answer all those, and I can't read everything. I will get 5 to 10 times a day somebody saying, you got to watch this 2-hour video because it's the most important thing that's out there. Well, if I start watching a 2-hour video for you and do that 10 more in a day, you can begin to see how much time that I have. And let me make one more comment. Some of you email me and you want to call and you want to talk. I had to set a personal boundary because I only have so many hours in a day, and this is a one-man show, a one-man program. I do this all by myself. I don't take personal calls unless it's absolutely urgent and relevant to something that's going on at the time. It's not that I don't want to, But who am I going to say yes to, and who am I going to say no to? Because at the end of every day, I always have 3 to 5 calls I wish I could have made that day and I didn't have time. It's just I can't. So unless it's extremely urgent and extremely relevant to what's taking place at the time, I'm not going to return your request for phone calls, for personal phone calls. Now, those are kind of some of the administrative stuff. But this new discussion group will be very helpful. Another thing that will be very helpful for those of you that want to come to the workshops. Some of you, I know that you would love to come, but you can't afford $80 to $100 a night for a hotel room for 2 or 3 nights, plus your travel expenses. This gives you the opportunity to talk with each other, to possibly develop a network with each other. You may be able to carpool together from a certain area to drive, and you may be able to share a hotel room. You know, like each of you can have your own queen-size bed, and the next thing you know, you've cut your hotel room cost in half. But these are ways for you as groups of people to start communicating with each other outside of just me, because I'm the one-man show and I can't continue to do that as a one-man show to facilitate what's happening for all of us, because I get thousands. You know, my newsletter list is now over 9,000 people. Very loyal people, very wonderful people, and I want to thank you very much for everything that you bring into my life and for the rest of us. But there's a lot more out there than just me, and a lot of you have a lot of great and wonderful things to share. Now, for tomorrow's radio program. The ambassador had mentioned something in the radio program, and the question was asked about what is it going to take to bring this about? And he kind of gave I call an encompassing answer. It's about us as a human race beginning to wake up to who we are and to step in to what, as I call it, is our true sense of sovereignty as individuals of who we are here in this country and on this planet. And the waking up process is just that. It's a process. But there is one thing that keeps people from waking up, becoming conscious, becoming aware. One thing that stops us more than anything else, and that's our fear. And I'm going to talk about that tomorrow night, how important that is. I do talk about this in the workshops as well. It's some of the things that I share that is there. We all know that love is the most powerful energy force here on this planet. But on the other hand, fear is the most dominant energy force on the planet. It tells you about us, of something of our human condition, us as a human race, that we allow fear to dominate and control our lives. I remember it was probably about 8 years ago when I really started, when I went through something myself and I started to waken up. And it was shortly after that I had read this book, and it's a book that many of you have probably already read, and it's a great, great primer book on understanding what is called the Law of Attraction Principles. And it was The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And as I was watching the DVD of the book, the video, I had always known about the power of positive thinking. But all of a sudden in that movie, it spoke to me so strongly about the power of our negative thoughts. And I realized I had never grasped that. I never really quite understood it, and I had never made that to be consciously be a part of my life. And all of a sudden I started realizing the power of fear when I started looking through that. The power of negative thinking. Now, I also share this in the workshop, and it's the whole issue. In fact, I just got done watching another video, YouTube video this morning, that's absolutely excellent on this. Quantum physics is turning what is called the material world upside down. The material world, the world that we physically sense with our 5 physical senses, that we think things are over there and out there and that they're reality. But the reality is they aren't real. Quantum physics shows that the material world that we experience, that we see, that we observe, that we feel, is totally a product of our thoughts. Because energy at the quantum level starts out as what is called in the wave form. And by the power of the observer, you and me, just by observing it, we change it from a wave form into a particle form. And these particles are what consist everything within our material world, at the levels of the atoms, the molecules, and stuff like that. So what does that mean? Everything we observe, everything we experience, everything that we feel is a product of our thoughts, our observation. It's our thoughts and observation that creates the world that we experience. And if fear is the most dominant energy and dominant thought process on this planet, then it tells you that we are creating the fearful world ourselves. And it's the whole issue about changing our thoughts that will change our world. Albert Einstein had a really great quote. He says, "The world that we live in has been created from our thoughts, so therefore the new world we want must be created from new thoughts, new thinking." As we change how we think, as we change how we process, we will change our world. And there is one thing that does that more than anything else: learning how to identify, recognize, overcome, and process all your thoughts of fear. Fear stops us more than anything else. We have a tendency to think, if I'm lacking something in my life, something that I want to have for me, I want more money, I want a better job, I want a better relationship, and we start looking for something that is out there. The better job that is out there. The more money, the RV that will come into my life and change all of my world. We look for things outside of us, and we want to bring them into our lives to make us feel better, when in reality it is just the opposite. It's our thoughts that prevent those things and keep them from coming in. Unconscious thoughts of fear and guilt are the very foundation of everything that goes on in our lives. As we clear out, heal, clear, process the fear, the blocks are removed so that the power of love comes out. Because the love is already there within us. It's what Jesus said. The kingdom of God is within you. It's inside of you, waiting to come out. And so life is not so much about going and finding something that is outside of us that doesn't exist because it's not real except by our thoughts, and trying to bring it into our lives to make us feel better. That doesn't really work. How it works is clear out the fear. Clear out the blockages, clear out the obstacles, and you do that by changing how you think. And when you do that, the love comes forward, and the power and the energy of love begins to attract everything into your life that you want. And all I can say is, for the last 2 years, 3 years in my life, I have been a living example of that. I struggled with so much stuff in my life for so long. I struggled financially, did in my relationships, I was married for 23 years and that didn't work, and I was single, for 12 years and that wasn't working well, and I was trying this and, trying to find relationships that would work. Financially, things were falling apart. You've heard my story. I lost everything I had. I had to file bankruptcy. I lost my home to foreclosure. There was even a point in time, about a year and a half ago, that I was one day away from being homeless. I struggled. But I was determined when I learned this about 3 years ago to make the clearing and healing process in my life the absolute most important thing in my life, because I knew outside of that nothing else really mattered. And I worked at it, and I worked at it. And it became a love affair of working at it, because I would feel the growth, I would feel the change, and I would feel the progress. And it was in January of this year, something just broke. And it was like I heard down inside, it was something that was speaking into my soul that was saying, "You finished. You finished the majority of your work. The majority of the stuff that you had to clear out." Now, do I still have some periodic things? Absolutely I do. But since January of this year, it's just like stuff finds me. Now, this actually goes back, because you've heard my story about when I started this whole process of working with this Dinar Reval stuff. It found me. I didn't go looking for it. I sent out this little article to 35 friends, and the next thing I know, it gets posted on 2 or 3 blog sites, and within 10 days I had over 1,000 emails coming in asking questions. And the next thing I know, I was getting to step into what I love to do, what I felt I had been prepared to do for my whole life. Life was finding me, and life was becoming enjoyable. Life was becoming filled with purpose for me. And I'm beginning to experience that. January rolls around, I felt the break. And then within 2 weeks, you've heard the story about Charlotte and I and how we met, and what she has done in adding into my life, the relationship that helps me so much in who I am. Things begin to open up. My newsletter list went from about 1,500 to 6,000 in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks, and I didn't even try. They just kept finding me. Doors would continue to open up. And sometimes the doors open up, I step into the door, I work through it, I'm dealing with it as I know at that moment, with the information that I have at that time. And then I find out that that door was not always the most positive door, but it was a learning process that was extremely important. See, so the journey became more important than the end result of what I want to have, because the end result, what gets you there, is the journey of the process of going through that. So you learn to fall in love with the journey. And I am. Right now, it's been very good. And then the next thing I know, I get this guy called the ambassador, calls me, wants to start a communication with me, and the things that I am learning through that. And then you've heard my story about Madame Q and the princess. And I've got another gentleman that I'm developing a network with that is just outstanding. I mean, who this guy is and the networks and the contacts that he has. And it's I'm going to be spending some time with him after the workshop in San Jose on Saturday, and the doors that just open up there. These are phenomenal people that just kind of blow me away when I stop to think about it, and it just continues to find me. And why is it finding me? It's because I made the most important thing in my life is to heal and clear my fears. And how I knew, I experienced, as I look back, I experienced how fear totally dominated and controlled my life. It would paralyze me at moments. I couldn't do certain things that I wanted to do. I couldn't accomplish. It was like inside of me, I felt I was all this potential. But I couldn't get there because all the blocks that seemed to be in the way. And those blocks are created more by anything else by fear. It's learning how to recognize fear, understand it, know what it is, see it when it comes and it stares you in the face. And most of it comes through your emotions. That's where you will notice it more than anything else. And then how you learn how to release that and let it go from your life. And then the need to replace it with something that's extremely positive. It's a real simple process that I have used that's worked for me for a long time. It's called recognize, release, and 3 is replace. Now each of those have multiple components to it. But you recognize the fear. You have to come to the point of acknowledging it, what it is. And then you let it go. You release it, and there's various exercises that you can do about that. And then you replace it with something that is very different, and it's all based around how we process and understand the energy of the world that we live in. I'm going to talk about that on the radio program because it goes in conjunction with what the ambassador shared with us last week. We have to change how we think. And the biggest thing in changing how we think is learning how, more than anything else, is to process our fears. Now, we can talk about the importance of love. But what I say is, the love's already there. It's already there within you. The real issue is removing the blocks so it can come out and do its work. Love comes out. Love does its work. The power of love, the power of gratitude, the power of joy, the energy that comes out of it, what it attracts into your life. Because the thoughts that you're putting out, they're like little electromagnetic waves of what I call memes. You heard me talk about that in the past. The memes that go out, and they're little electromagnetic particles of energy, of what they are, thought energy, and they attract like energy of a like frequency and bring it back into your life. So if you've got fear issues going out, you're bringing fear issues back into you. If you've got issues of joy, gratitude, love going out, then you bring those back into you. And I'll share my life experience, take you through some of that process. And I thought, of all the things that are going on out there in the RVGCR world, if each of us want this to happen, this is the one thing that we can do to bring it about in a quicker manner. It doesn't take millions of people. It only takes a very small number of people that are so singularly focused on this that can bring the energy shift and change for the things that we want. That's the things that we get to do. That's the change that we can make. Because if you're like me and you read the blog sites, it's just been one delay after another. Delay after delay after delay. Whatever is going to be the next new thing for the reason why it's not happening. Yesterday, a few days ago, it was supposed to be the ISX going live. Still waiting. Still waiting. You see, we create the shift and the change. We do that. We are the ones that can do that. And those of you that are a part of this, I want to thank you for all being here, because you're going to get and understand it, and it'll bring a change to your life. Charla shared something with last night as we were talking with some friends. It was when we were in the Orlando workshop. There was a gentleman that was there, And he made a comment that just kind of was so delightful for all of us. He says, when I started this process, I started it as an investment, thinking that I was going to get rich. Little did I know it would send me on a journey of awakening and changing my life for the better, regardless of what comes down the road. That's what I love sharing with you. That's what I'm here to do. That's a part of what my calling in my life is, to be a part of this. I'm getting to enjoy what I do. It took me years to get here, but it was years of discovery, years of clearing, healing negative energy issues in my life, clearing all those blocks out so the positive things could happen. Love all of you. Look forward to having you on the radio program tomorrow night. Okay, bye-bye.